The air crackled with electricity. It was a night like no other, a night that would be remembered for years to come. The anticipation had been building for months, and now it had reached its peak. A roar went up from the crowd, a sound so powerful it seemed to shake the very ground beneath their feet. It was a collective voice, a unified cry of triumph and jubilation. Thousands of Trump flags waved, a sea of red, white, and blue rippling through the heartland. The colors were vibrant, a testament to the unwavering spirit of the supporters who had gathered from all corners of the nation. It was a scene repeated across America, a spontaneous outpouring of joy, relief, and yes, vindication. In small towns and big cities alike, people took to the streets, their faces alight with hope and pride. They had been called deplorable, forgotten, left behind. For years their voices had been drowned out by the noise of the political elite, their concerns brushed aside as irrelevant. But on this night they were heard. Their voices rose above the din, clear and resolute. They were no longer invisible, no longer ignored. The energy was palpable, a surge of hope washing over the faces of hard-working Americans. It was a moment of unity, a moment when differences were set aside and the common goal of reclaiming their country took center stage. For too long, they had watched their values under attack, their voices silenced, their concerns dismissed by the coastal elites. But something had shifted. The tide had turned, and the silent majority was silent no more. The silent majority was silent no more. They had found their voice, and they were using it to make a statement. This was their moment, their chance to be heard. They had risen up, defying the polls, the pundits, and the establishment. Against all odds, they had come together to make their voices heard, to show the world that they would not be silenced. This wasn't just about politics. This was deeper. It was about identity, about belonging, about the fundamental values that define who they are as a people. This was about taking back their country, reclaiming their values, their future. This was about freedom, the freedom to live their lives according to their own principles, without interference or judgment, the freedom to speak their minds, to worship as they choose, to live their lives without fear or apology. It was a powerful message, one that resonated deeply with those who had felt marginalized for so long. This was their America, and they were taking it back. With every cheer, every chant, every wave of the flag, they were reclaiming their place in the nation they loved. It was a night of victory, a night of hope, a night that would be remembered as the moment when the people took back their country. For years, they had been silenced, censored, and deplatformed. Their voices were stifled, their opinions deemed too dangerous for the mainstream. They were pushed to the fringes, their messages buried under layers of algorithms and policies designed to suppress dissent. Their voices were deemed dangerous, their opinions unacceptable in the carefully curated echo chambers of social media. The frustration grew as they saw their posts removed, their accounts suspended, and their reach limited. It was a digital gag order, a modern-day silencing of dissent. Conservative voices were stifled, their reach limited, their messages buried under algorithms designed to control the narrative. The digital landscape had become a battleground, with one side holding all the power. But the fight for free speech was far from over. But President Trump would not be silenced. He understood the power of direct communication, the importance of bypassing the gatekeepers and speaking directly to the American people. He had used social media to great effect during his campaign and presidency, and he wasn't about to let that tool be taken away. He knew the power of direct communication, of bypassing the gatekeepers and speaking directly to the American people. He had seen firsthand how effective it could be, how it could mobilize millions and shape the national conversation, and he was determined to keep that power in the hands of the people. His answer, a digital revolution, a new way to communicate, to share ideas, to connect with others. It was a bold move, a direct challenge to the status quo, but it was also a necessary one, a way to ensure that all voices could be heard. A new platform built on the principles of free speech and open dialogue, where all voices could be heard. It was a place where censorship was not tolerated, where ideas could be exchanged freely, and where the marketplace of ideas could thrive. No more shadow banning, no more censorship, no more manipulation. It was a return to the original promise of the internet, a place where anyone could have a voice, where ideas could be shared without fear of reprisal. This was a direct challenge to the tech giants, a declaration of independence from the digital overlords who sought to control the flow of information. It was a bold move, but one that was necessary to restore balance to the digital landscape. Millions flocked to the platform, hungry for unfiltered truth and a return to common sense. They were tired of the censorship, the manipulation, the control. They wanted a place where they could speak freely, where their voices could be heard. Here they could connect with like-minded patriots, share their stories, and organize without fear of reprisal. It was a place where they could be themselves, where they could speak their minds, and where they could find others who shared their values. The silent majority had found its voice, and it was loud, clear, and unapologetic. They were no longer willing to be silenced, to be pushed to the fringes. They were ready to take back their power, to reclaim their place in the national conversation. And with this new platform, they had the tools to do just that. From the moment the first votes were cast, the spectre of doubt loomed large. The process, which should have been a celebration of democracy, was overshadowed by uncertainty and suspicion. Whispers of irregularities, of voting machines malfunctioning, of ballots appearing out of thin air. These whispers grew louder, echoing through communities and spreading like wildfire across social media platforms. The mainstream media, quick to dismiss any such claims as baseless conspiracy theories, rushed to crown a victor. Headlines declared winners before the dust had settled, leaving many to wonder if the truth had been sacrificed for the sake of expediency. But the American people knew better. They had seen the evidence with their own eyes. Videos of irregularities, first-hand accounts of confusion at polling stations, and reports of discrepancies in vote counts flooded the internet. Across the country, concerned citizens stepped forward, demanding answers, demanding transparency. They organized rallies, held town hall meetings, and used every platform available to voice their concerns. They raised legitimate questions about the integrity of the vote, questions that deserved to be heard, questions that went to the very heart of American democracy. These were not just idle complaints, they were cries for justice and fairness. How could they be sure their votes counted? How could they trust a system that seemed so vulnerable to manipulation? These were the questions that kept them awake at night, questions that demanded answers. How could they trust a system that seemed so vulnerable to manipulation? The integrity of the electoral process was at stake, and with it the very foundation of their democracy. The fight for election integrity is far from over. It is a battle that will continue until every vote is counted accurately and every voice is heard. This is not just about one election. It is about the future of the democratic process. It is a fight that goes beyond partisan politics, a fight to restore faith in the bedrock of their republic. People from all walks of life, from different political backgrounds, are coming together to demand a system they can trust. The American people deserve answers. They deserve transparency. They deserve a system that is as robust and reliable as the principles it is built upon. They deserve to know that their votes matter and that their voices will be heard. This is the essence of democracy, and it is worth fighting for. The journey to secure election integrity is long and arduous, but it is a journey that must be undertaken for the sake of future generations. Section 4, Masters of the Game inside Trump's campaign war room. It was a team of seasoned strategists, battle-tested and ready for anything. They understood the American heartland, the forgotten men and women who felt ignored and betrayed by the political establishment. They knew their hopes, their dreams, their fears, and they knew how to reach them. Ignoring the sneers of the coastal elites, they crafted a message that resonated deeply with working-class Americans. They spoke of jobs, of secure borders, of putting America first. They tapped into a deep well of patriotism, reminding Americans of their shared values and common purpose. This was not a campaign run on empty promises and lofty rhetoric. This was a campaign built on understanding, on connecting with voters on a personal level, on offering real solutions to the very real challenges facing everyday Americans. It was a winning strategy, a testament to the power of authenticity and the enduring appeal of common sense. Section 5, Us versus Them, the defining line in the sand. The line had been drawn. On one side stood the American people, the hard-working patriots who loved their country and cherished its values. On the other side stood the elites, the globalists, the media, the swamp creatures who had rigged the system for their own benefit. This was the defining narrative of our time, a battle for the soul of America. The elites looked down upon them with disdain, dismissing their concerns as bigotry and ignorance. They sought to silence their voices, to marginalize their values, to erase their very way of life. But the American people would not be silenced, they would not be intimidated, they would not back down. This was about more than just policy disagreements. This was about fundamental values, about who we are as a nation. It was about freedom versus control, about national sovereignty versus globalism, about putting America first versus putting America last.